in the last year. How did you guys find out about him, keep tabs on him, and what did you have to do to convince him to come here?
Yeah, Jacob's story is kind of funny. I think I read something on Jacob's story, period. And, for us, the biggest thing is at the quarterback position, I wanted to get it realigned the way it should be. When I came in, there's two scholarship quarterbacks. That's scary. I'll be really honest with you. And so, we've been in a position at Toledo where, we played 2 years ago, we played 5 quarterbacks, all right? And that wasn't by choice. That's because of injury and what we had to do, and still won a lot of games with those guys. But, I was trying to just get ourselves back to a sense of what a normal roster should look like in terms of the quarterback position. And Jacob, Jacob we knew about. Obviously, you talk about a winner. There's a kid that was an All-American coming out of high school, played in the biggest All-Star games, went to Georgia. And, what I love about Jacob is he played in the spread offense, went to Georgia, pro-style offense, not a great fit, looking for kind of what we do offensively and who we've been. And, really took one phone call. And it's as simple as that, and I wish it was a more fascinating story. But one phone call and said, Coach, this is where I want to go. I want to play for you guys. And, we've had to work diligently since, I'll be honest with you. And as you can tell in recruiting, sometimes in, some of these graduate transfers and even a junior college situation, not junior college, he's set. But you gotta work till the finish, and that's just part of the game, and that's something that's a part of it. And we've had to fend off a lot of big-time programs over the last couple of weeks, but we're really honored to have Jacob a part of it. He visited last weekend, and, be fun to have him involved with our program. He'll be able to start here in May, which will be great. Well, that's where you talk about attitude and effort, which I hope that's going to be the foundation of our football program. And, the attitude and effort piece comes from both players and it comes from coaches. And our coaching standpoint, that's where we picked up the phone, made a phone call, one phone call, and next thing you know, it's wildfire. Here's both of these guys, and now they're both eligible. They're both looking for a home, and we're competing against some really good people. And I don't think it was just one of them. I think they were each their own entity a little bit, both Jaquan and Josh. And I think it was just a great job by it was a really team effort, and kind of led by Coach Tyson Veit on that one, who really did a great job making the phone call, and then it was all hands on deck. And both those guys visited at a different time. Jaquan came in last Monday for the Kansas game, which was awesome to see that environment. And then Josh came last weekend with the last weekend for us. So, both of them had a ton of options. But I think ultimately, the opportunity to play together, and they had opportunities at other places to play together as well. But I thought that was huge for us. Well, I think that's a great question. Here's Tyler's situation. Obviously, Tyler has signed a FAA agreement with us, but in a transfer situation, and until he actually enrolls in school, he's still a little bit of a free agent out there. And so we're going to just have to continue to work. But, we talked to Tyler last night. He's fired up about being at Iowa State. Obviously, he's getting recruited by everybody in the country now. And, that's just a matter of us, of hopefully our relationship and his trust in us continues to hold strong. But, it's one of those situations until we get to May. I don't know if we can answer that question, honestly, but he is committed to us. He has signed an FAA agreement with us. So, I do feel comfortable and really strong about that relationship, but we'll have to see.
Wanted to pursue, and what does he project like going forward?
Yeah, Zeb, a wow factor for us in terms of what you want in a quarterback. I'm personally involved in that recruiting process because that's the one area that I just feel can ultimately be a difference maker. And to get 2 guys like Jacob and Zeb in this class I think allows us to sleep maybe a little bit better, tonight. But, Zeb's a young man that his father's a head high school football coach. Zeb's going into Zeb's junior year. His dad takes a new job at a bigger school and has to kind of come in and turn around a program. So Zeb's kind of already been part of that, and boy, did they. Turns it around, gets a couple games into the playoffs this past year. He's been a part of that rebuilding a culture process with his dad. And then you look at him on film, and you talk about explosive arm strength. The ball explodes out of his hands. He's got a great understanding. Shoot, Zeb's up here almost daily trying to draw up plays. I said, just wait, Zeb. So we'll get the plays in. But he loves the game of football. And ultimately, what it comes down to at the quarterback position is, do you love football? How bad do you want to be around? And Zeb loves football. And so his intangibles as well as his mental piece, I think, is outstanding for us where we're at in our program. And really, I thought it was a huge gift for us to be able to get Zeb a part of our program, and excited to have him here for spring practice. It's going to be really fun to watch his progress in 15 days.
Get today.
Yeah. Chase Allen is a wild guy. That's maybe the best way I can say it. And, why? I think in terms of Chase, number one, let's talk pedigree. Obviously, with who his dad is, growing up in the game of football, understanding how to play the game and compete at a high rate. Number two, if you watch Chase's career, I think for me, initially I watched his senior film, but then I watched about 3 games as a sophomore, about 6 games as a junior, and then watched about 4 or 5 games this year as a senior. And what you see is you see a sophomore, and then you see a junior, and then you see this kid skyrocket into his senior year. And obviously that's why all these big schools come flying in after him, and he explodes on the national scene at the end of his senior year. I think we all know tight ends are hard to find anyways. That's a hard position to recruit. And Chase has just got the wow factor. He gets it. He's a great help in signing this class. You talk about developing relationships. He's already taken a great leadership role, and he wants to be here. You talk about wanting to be here. He wants to be here, and I think Chase is a guy that just gets it. He understands. But then you talk about what can he do in terms of tight ends. Well, he can do everything, which is hard to find. He can line up outside as a split end. He can line up attached as a true tight end. He can line up in the backfield as an H-back. So he can do it all, and I think we feel like we kind of wanted that position, to have Clifford Fernandez already in here, who's already drawing rave reviews from our coaching staff. Dylan Soner, who comes in, and you talk about a big physical guy that can really do some of those things as well. And then to get Chase, that was an area of need that we kind of said, that's one area we felt like we didn't have anybody that kind of fit that mold, and I thought we were able to really help ourselves at the tight end position. But really excited about Chase, and I don't know if I could say enough great things about him.